All right, everyone, I'm joined by Mike Africa Jr. and Tommy Oliver. Mike is the son of two MOVE members who were in prison for the death of a Philadelphia police officer in 1978, and Tommy is known for his work on OWN and the Screen Gems hit The Perfect Guy. Now, thank you, first off, so much for joining with me and agreeing to speak with me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, my first question is directed towards you, Mike. The MOVE organization, as we know it, wanted justice for all and also focused on the teachings of John Africa. But you've devoted pretty much your entire life to proving the innocence of your parents. Well, not only them, but also the other MOVE 9 members. Can you elaborate a little more on what the MOVE organization stood for and what it is as far as, what it means to you and why you feel the message was so important to get out for your family?
The MOVE organization's mission is to protect life and to encourage other people to protect life too. And as we protested, as we had this mission, we protested against the unjust treatment of animals. We protested against the police brutality. We protested against the pollution in the environment. And as a result of having this mission and putting together these protests, we were targeted by a very racist, bigoted police department led by Frank Rizzo. And those are the things that led up to what happened to our family on August 8th, 1978, that took my mother and my father and other members of our family to jail, to the jail that I was born in.
Why do you feel it was so important for your family members, first off, to join in this movement? Why do they feel it was so important to speak out, on rights of animals, rights of just people in general?
Well, I think because injustice is not something that only applies to one or two people. If there's an injustice anywhere, there's an injustice everywhere, right? We hear the
Right.
famous orators talk about that, and that's the truth. If you see your brother or your sister being assaulted by the police and they didn't do anything wrong, um, but the police attacked them, you know, what is there? Uh, what is there to stop them from attacking you? The same air that I got to breathe, you got to breathe. The same water you got to drink, I got to drink. So, it's the same mentality that allowed the people to put animals in a cage is the same mentality that drove white people to put Africans in chains and bring us over here and make slaves out of us. So we're talking about freedom and equality for all life, period. And we're fighting against a system that makes money off of the enslavement of life. So, with that information that John Africa gave members of the organization, they became members and they got involved. A lot of people were not revolutionaries at all. In fact, none of them were revolutionaries at all. They were just people who heard that information and then, was moved by it and felt compelled to get into action.
Well, I appreciate you speaking out on that, and that leads me, to my next question. It seems as if history is really repeating itself over and over, in terms of the racial tensions across this country, political divide, and of course the protests continuously sparked by police brutality. So this question is for you, Mr. Oliver. All that being said, why did you feel you needed to get involved with Mike's mission and telling his family's story, and why does this documentary need to be seen at this point in history? What message do you hope viewers get from watching it?
The idea of why this thing needs to be seen now is a bit of it's a weird thing because this film isn't any more relevant today than it would have been 5 years ago, nor 15 years before that, nor 10 years from today, unless things actually change. And for me, it really came down to Mike, a guy who had every reason to be angry, who had every reason to be upset, yet he had not a shred of bitterness about him. He was just a guy who wanted his parents home. He wanted to be with his family. And the idea of being around that and seeing that was a beautiful thing because we don't often see us in that way and we don't see activism or revolutionaries in that way. And in order to fully understand that story, I had to really understand what happened in 1978 because there wasn't no definitive account of that. And so on top of that, so many of the things that MOVE was fighting against some 40 years ago, police brutality, wrongful incarceration, systemic racism, abuse of power, same things we're dealing with today. And so, and it's from a city, my city, Philly, that I love. And it's a city that needs to do better. And when we forget where we've been, when we forget what we've done, we are doomed to make those same mistakes again, which is what we've all been seeing again and again and again.
And this may seem like, a pretty broad or even vague question, but you said, nothing is really going to happen. This is always going to be relevant until something changes. What do you think is going to finally take for things to change in this country? And that's
You're on
for
mute,
anyone
Mike.
to answer. Either.
Yeah, I think for things to change, people have to change them. People have to get to the point where they recognize that there's a need for change, and I think that's happening. People are seeing these horrible police killings. They're seeing these injustices where people are going to prison for absurd amount of time, lengths of time, and I think that people are waking up more than they were before. Now, being awake is good, but now putting something into action is even better, and that's what's necessary. I think that the system is going to help us do that because they won't stop. They won't stop killing black people. They won't stop. They're destroying the earth, the planet, and this is what we need to live. And as long as we need this to live, they're going to force people into action.
Okay.
And I know we're running out of time, but I just want to ask, one last question. Going off of all that, like you said, it's forcing people to have to step up. Mr. Oliver just mentioned, he said, even though you've dealt with so much, you don't have, a shed of bitterness in you. What is your message to people who are dealing with this all over, especially, this year with the pandemic, everything, losing lives? What is your message for people to just keep pressing forward? When they watch this movie, do you hope that what you've been through and what you've been dealing with helps them?
Find a way. Talk to your local politician about a issue that you're passionate about. Do something. Get involved. Talk to your friends, your family. Talk to your neighbors. Get involved and find a way. If people want to make change, their search and the action of actually getting involved in doing that, that will the answer will kind of reveal itself. They'll meet people that are also thinking and feeling the same way, and that will compel them to keep on moving. Find a way, make it happen.
Okay. Well, both of you, I appreciate your time very much, and I know we are out of time for now. But again, everyone, just a reminder, this does premiere on December 8th at 9 o'clock on HBO. So, Mr. Oliver and Mike Africa Jr., thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.